Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Other Student Ministry Podcast. Here with Matthew Ferrer.
Hey, everybody.
The one and only one-footed worship leader. And then Justin Knowles. And we are excited to launch the brand new podcast of the Other Student Ministry Podcast, where we talk about hacks in leadership, creativity, and student ministry. And we're just excited to get rolling with some stuff with the one and only Robbie Ragazza.
Oh, Robbie Ragazza on the ones and the twos, everybody, the ones and the twos. Hey, so we want to talk a little bit about what we're doing and why we're doing it on this first episode. And so, Justin, you kind of had the idea and the heart for this since the get-go. So do you want to kind of just talk about what the whole idea about this podcast is, the resources that it is, the conversations that we'll have, things like that?
Yeah. I think my goal eventually with this is just like, there's so many good other student ministry podcasts that have started over the last couple of years. You have Download Youth Ministry, you have YM Answers, you have Lifeway has one, and just to name like a few. And my thought is just like, hey, this would be great. There's a whole bunch of different answers and questions and all that stuff. But for us in this particular podcast, like I want to kind of dive deeper into certain topics. Instead of having one episode of worship, I want to have like worship and then break it down into like 7 sections of worship band, worship culture, worship, and kind of like talks about like the hacks. Basically, we're learning. Yeah. Like we're trying to build the culture within our student ministry, and we're learning and building. And we want to help other people learn how to do these things as we're learning how to do these things, and like share just a couple hacks along the way of what we've learned and what we failed at. Yeah. And then also like bring people in who like maybe you've never heard of, who like have killer stuff to talk about, and that like maybe they're killing this one specific area. So that's like the essential, like, the whole basis of this is like we want to share very practical stuff. Yeah. Here's how you hack this. Here's how you make this better or easier or whatever it is.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea that that we're going to bring in folks who are way better at what they do than what we do, type thing, and just learn from them.
Because I think we're good. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I think we're good, but there's better out there, and we want to like learn from people too. Like I want to be able to learn how to do stuff better than what we're doing now, and my whole goal is like, man, this is going to help us. Yeah. And if it helps other people, that's cool too. Yeah. So it's part of like selfish, where I was like, I want this to help our ministry. Yeah, completely. And then I also want to help other ministries as well.
Yeah. Hey, so we want you to be a part of the conversation as well. And so each and every episode, we're going to take a little bit of time just to answer some questions and hopefully just engage in a broader conversation about some of these hacks, about some of these things, about some of these themes. And so you can reach us at the Other Student Ministry Podcast at gmail.com. Once again, that's the Other Student Ministry Podcast at gmail.com. We'll take a few moments in the top of every episode just to answer a few questions. To ask a few questions ourselves just about where we've gone and where we've learned or what we've learned about the different topics that we've kind of addressed. And the big thing is we just want this to be an open conversation just with tons of people talking through things, because we learn better when we do things together.
Yeah. So real and honest. I think like that's something I want to value. Yeah. Because like let's just be real. Let's talk about this stuff. We're like, oh, I can't believe this, talking about this. Yeah. But like I want to have someone say like, me too. Yeah. Like, oh, I've been thinking that, but I haven't said it. You know what I mean? Like I want to think through those things, without getting in trouble.
Yeah. Just spitballing. Give me your top 5. Like what are things that you're just like so interested in diving deep into in the next few episodes?
Honestly, like the next episode, I just figured we'll start with like the really, just dive right in and talk about, how do you have tough conversations about like pornography, homosexuality, and just other the tough topics, like stuff, honestly, that we've talked about in our services on Wednesdays. Yeah. And like, how do you navigate, not necessarily like our stance behind those things, but how do you have the conversations about the tough things with students so they actually want to come back and still be involved in the ministry? Yeah. So that's like the number one. And then 2 is, I think the other big thing is like, I love programming. And so like just kind of like hacks into service programming, and you've been a part of it at least since we've been here, of how do we make our services like we're very particular about certain culture stuff on Wednesday nights, and it seems to be working.
Yeah.
And so like just to dive into, it's one thing to do it, but it's another thing to be able to try to explain how you do those things.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about how we do those things and what we did to do. So that's like the top like 2 that I'm like, I'm down. And thirdly, for you, like more specifically of like, I think we've developed over the last 3 years a really good worship culture. That's like game changer. 3 years ago, to where it is now, is 100% different. 100% different.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to dive into how do you do that? How do we leverage, the momentum? Where does the Holy Spirit play into that? Where does summer camp play into that? Just like, and how, because it's very strategic, but also like we can't do it unless God is in it.
Yeah.
And so, I'm excited for that too, and just to kind of have an honest conversation with that. And I'm hoping to get our worship pastor of our church here.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Like here into that conversation as well, because I think he's done a good job.
Oh, yeah. He's driven the charge in that, and then given us a ton of freedom. How do we contextualize the things that we value, the DNA, the culture, all those type of things on a weekend service? How do we contextualize that within a student ministries? And he's given us tons of freedom, which isn't always the case. Which is, really beautiful. For the record, he was in the role before I was. So if you ever have the opportunity to work with someone like that who was in your job, and then now you do that job, and he gets it. He understands camp. So asking for that time to like go off and be with students at camp is always we'll see you soon. It's never like, oh, you got to be around for this meeting, blah, 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 like that type of thing. He's fantastic. And so, well, cool. Gosh, I think the last thing we want to talk about just before we kind of sign off for this first one is just a little bit about who we are and what we do. Justin, who are you? Tell me about yourself.
Yeah. So student ministries pastor. I guess technically now it's like family pastor.
Yeah.
Overseeing students. I think that's my official title that just changed.
Assistant to the regional
manager. Yeah.
Yeah. Regional pastor of all things Southern California.
Yeah. The southwestern region of whatever.
The northern hemisphere of America.
Of students.
Yeah.
So all those students, whatever. So I've been here for 3 years, but it's my second time around. So like, it's actually, I went to APUs specific, had an internship here at CCV, got a job out of CCV through that, worked here for 4 years. I went down to Saddleback Church for 3 years, worked on the high school ministry team there with my buddy Josh Griffin, who also runs a really good podcast, downloadyouthministry.com podcast, and it is phenomenal, so you should check that out. And then been back now for 3 years and kind of as like the head student guy, and it's been so fun. I feel home. This is home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I love Saddleback. It was one of my favorite places. I learned a ton there. I was super humbled.
Yeah.
I was surrounded by some amazing people, and then came here, and then now leading, with you guys and Sean, our junior high pastor, who's in the room.
Sean
Shout out
to
Sean. What's up?
I think, side note, I feel like we should make like a bit, Sean on the couch, where Sean, you just like yell something from the back.
Just peanut gallery, dude. That's just what you need to do. That's what Sean on the couch. It's a bit.
Sean on the couch, yeah, dude.
Every Sunday, Sean on the couch, and with Helena, small groups, and then Rachel, who's college pastor, and so we're excited for it's just a good time. I feel like home. This is a great place. I love where the church is going in general.
Yeah, completely.
And so been 3 years now, working and kind of leading the charge with student ministry.
Yeah.
And it's been so fun. And I do a lot of stuff with Download Youth Ministry. I write for them, create content for them.
Yeah.
Manage a whole bunch of stuff for them. I love those dudes.
Yeah.
And it's great. And so obviously I get to work with you.
Yeah.
Because you're a fantastic worship leader who has a broken foot, and you get to tell that story. So who are you?
Yeah.
And how did you break your foot at a summer kickoff?
Okay. My name's Matthew Ferrer. I'm one of the worship leaders here at CCV.
Who have known you since you were 18,
This is true. He's known me since I was 18. Justin and I met on my last day in high school ministry after I graduated. You met me on a day that a relationship had just ended or something like that. It was a weird time, but it was a really good time.
We got real intense real quick.
Yeah.
Just in our conversation, I remember that. You had long black hair with a little bit of bleach in it, super emo kid.
I was super, was and still is super into Fall Out Boy. And so that, if you can imagine, like the worship leader, Pete Wentz, that was like the dream.
Ferrer,
That's what I was going for. Which I mean, might come full circle now after the foot break story, but we'll get it there.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Anyway, so CCV is the church that I gave my life to the Lord at. Met Jesus here through some wonderful youth leaders and pastors who really stepped into my life and just kind of showed me the way, which is awesome. I also went to APU. I studied media communication with a minor in religion, and the whole time was doing music, playing in bands, and leading worship here at the church, and just fell in love with it and kind of fell into it, and loved the idea of pastoring through music, and specifically pastoring students who love music, because it's a different breed. It's a very artistic, broody kind of very unique student who jumps into the worship scene and wants to do those things. And so I really kind of saw how people stepped into my life in that way and wanted to do the same for others. And so, this is going to be year 7 at CCV in terms of vocational role.
Because you started on kids ministry.
I started in kids ministry. Yeah, I did kids worship for 2 years, which was so fantastic. Really kind of developed like a philosophy of how to teach worship, and teaching it to like littles who have no idea what worship is. And it's really kind of cool, because that's kind of shaped how I approach each and every Wednesday, taking into account that if students are bringing their friends, and if there's someone here for the very first time, that they're in the same way, they have no idea what's happening.
Right.
And it's going to be a lot different, hopefully, than just, your loud rock concert. And so always trying to set up that contextually of just like, hey, like this is what's going on. The people raising their hands, this is why we're doing it. The people like losing,
which you brought into our student, which we'll dive into that like in later episodes or whatever. Like that's part of the assumption, is just assume someone's new.
Yeah.
Right.
Completely.
Like that
Yeah. Anyway, so kind of speeding it up. So just been here for a little bit. Currently I'm currently the, I guess you could say like family pastor that oversees like worship ministry. So everything from like birth to young adults. So that's like leading on Wednesdays, helping to develop the culture, helping to develop teams, helping to build a pipeline of worship leaders, that type of thing. And then helping to develop those different venues, and then leading our Sunday night service as well.
Yeah.
For the olders who don't like to jump around as much.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And Matt's done a good job. I could say this because it's we've changed the culture of worship, at least church-wide, and also like just in student ministry-wise. Mm-hmm. He's phenomenal, and I'm excited to go on this journey with him. So, guys, that's it for this episode. Just because we're diving into a whole bunch of stuff. This is a little intro to get to know us a little bit. If you do have questions or want to, just start off right off the bat, it's the Other Student Ministry Podcast at gmail.com. And we're excited to go on this journey. So make sure that you subscribe and just go on this journey with us as we learn how to do things, so we could help you learn how to do things. And just create and talk about like legitimate hacks in student ministry to make student ministry better. Yeah. So that's it. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Love it. We're excited for this journey. Here we go.
See ya.